Hello, and welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world, all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host, Naran Shaban, and today I had the chance to talk with the band The Great Leslie. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you guys, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. I'm just going to go and start off with the first question and ask, how would you describe the music that you guys typically create?
We define it, as kind of dance rock. So it's like a spectrum of alternative and indie rock, and we try and always make sure that everywhere in our set when we're performing live, people want to get up and dance. I think we're just experimenting in that sense and making sure that we stick to a a feel and a rhythm of the music to make sure that people will, have a certain necessity when they see us live. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I agree. I think when we try and write, we don't really try and write in a genre. We just try and make sure that it's dancey, and then wherever the song wants to go, it will go that way. Like you said, the most recent one is a little bit more, probably a little bit closer to indie, a little bit closer to indie rock. The one before there was definitely more sort of maybe Brit poppy, a little bit rockier than that. The one before that was like a little bit definitely more indie. The one before that was quite anthemic, but the whole stream going through them was that we just wanted to make people dance, really, and the genre was kind of irrelevant after that. It was just make sure they dance.
Awesome. Julian?
I think by default we end up just composing that music when we play together anyways. Seems to be what comes most naturally. So
awesome. Yeah. And when it comes to as a band, when it comes to the creative process of your music, how would you describe it? Like, how do you guys create it?
It's fairly we experiment with how we do things, because then it creates different forms of songs and different and interesting ways of songwriting. So with the first single we released this year, See You Again, we actually just sat in a room together and wrote the music there and then. And then I went away and wrote the lyrics. Oftentimes I will go away and write a skeleton or a first draft of a song, and I'll bring it to the band, and then we'll rewrite it together and arrange it together. But that's definitely something that we're just carrying on and looking into as well. There's so many different ways, and you find, especially with the last time we did loads of writing together, we made quite a few of our singles for this year, and there were certain aspects of the music which we found became quite samey. So that's why we like to change it up in the way we write. So, the actual songs themselves, when they come out, the final product it has a cohesive sound, but it's not the same in structure or whatever else.
So for each of you guys, how did you guys start playing music, and is there anyone you guys know that has influenced you guys to start pursuing your music career?
My parents kind of put me in a conservatory at the age of 3, and I've been more or less a musician my entire life. So I've always done music in some capacity. I played harpsichord for a bit. I started off on the piano, and then I played harpsichord, and then I kind of gave up music for a few years, and then I started playing the guitar when I was 15. And then I attended a really good music school, and I just kept on doing music through that. And then I've been doing music ever since I moved to London, and that's basically it. And I've always been, I saw David Bowie play in 2003, and I think that gig kind of changed my life. And I thought, wow, I'd really love to do this all the time,
I've learned piano from a very young age. The old man who lived next door to me, Mr. Studley, was a piano teacher. So I learned piano first, and then got bored of that as I hit puberty, and then realized guitars were cooler. So I picked up bass. No one played bass in my school or in my town, basically. So it was more like a financial thing of, there's money to be made here. So I picked bass up and then liked it more, did a degree in it. And then like Julian said, moved to London, and then been a full-time musician, really. That's pretty much the same thing. I couldn't name one single gig. I just used to go to gigs all the time when I was younger, and I just always wanted to be on stage.
And I suppose it's always a fairly similar story for any form of artist. I think it's just you're told to do it when you're younger, and then it's something that it becomes a real, almost romantic journey where you fall in love with what you've been told to do. You know, I was told to play piano and then play guitar, and then I went to drums, and I found out I could sing really well, so I went back to playing guitar so I could play guitar and sing at the same time. Then I started writing music, and it was just it's just one thing after the other, but you always have a fascination with your art, with what you want to do. Because I was always interested in acting as well and comedy, but music just stuck. And then, yeah, all the way through school and college, and I was fairly disinterested with any other path of, in my life. I didn't want to be a historian or a philosopher, even though I loved history and philosophy. It's just music.
And as a band for the Great Leslie, how did the Great Leslie come together? Did you guys know each other before then, or did you guys just meet up and became a band?
It was an evolution, really, because it was originally it was a solo project. So I'm Ollie Trevors, and it was just the Ollie Trevors band. And Ryan, our drummer, who unfortunately isn't here right now, was part of that. And then as it developed through the years, well, I say through the years, it was only a year and a half, it was Ollie Trevors. But as it developed through time, we swapped out a few players, and then as soon as we switched to the Great Leslie, Jason joined. Was it just over a year ago, Jay, or something like that?
Yeah, it must have been. I'm gonna say something like that, like summer, May last year.
And then was it January, Julian? You joined
late January.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I think that's the same with loads of bands. Like loads of really big bands. They're just different formations of the same group, and this is I'm praying the final, and we just fingers crossed, touch wood. But yes, this is definitely where we are now.
Well, you guys are a great team. Your music is amazing, and your recent single that you guys released, Everything from Last Night, very good track, by the way. I personally enjoyed it, and I just want you guys to talk to me about what was the creative process behind recording this single.
Well, that was an intense period where Julian literally just joined the band. So that was at the beginning of the year. And my brother, our manager, said to me, go and write as many songs as you can. You have to write this many songs in a week or whatever. So I wrote all these songs and I brought them all to the band, and Everything from Last Night was amongst them. And then it was just, again, like I said, it was a process of rewriting, and a lot of things in that song changed quite a bit. It was a really fun process, but we knew, well, I didn't know, to be fair. Sometimes I don't know. And I'm just like, this is a great song. And then they go, no, it's not quite right. When it wasn't quite right, but it was good. It had a lot of potential. And then Jason and Julian were like, no, we can change this up. And Ryan wanted to do something, fun and jumpy on the drums. And then recording wise, we knew, because we have a set time of how much time we can record, with small bands, it costs a lot of money to go to studios. So we're like, we absolutely know exactly this is our part, and this is what we have to play, and this is how much time we've got to do it in. But yeah, what do you guys remember from that process? Because I don't remember.
Yeah, we basically had a month and a half to write 5 songs, and we were writing twice a week, more or less.
Yeah,
4 or 5 hours at a time, something like that. And I remember just running through a song, and Ollie would play it for us, and we'd say, okay, this is cool. Let's work on it. We'd maybe work on it for a few hours, and then think, okay, next song, next idea. Let's try to write something else. And the writing process was incredibly efficient. So that, like Ollie said, when we went into the studio, everyone pretty much knew exactly what we were playing and how we were going to do it, and what BVs we would sing and what parts we'd play. And we tried to go in as organized as possible, but the writing process was pretty intense because we had to be extremely efficient.
you guys are all located in London, England. Could you just tell us a little bit, how is the music scene in that country?
It's great. I think London really is one of, if not the best places to start out as a musician or a band in the world. Along with, I've never been to America. I presume New York's amazing as well, but it's a great scene. It's just that without getting too political, there's a lot of venues being closed down for various reasons. So that's kind of a sour note that we have to deal with. But a lot of people, especially post-pandemic, are really eager to go out and watch live music and get stuck in. And so, every gig I've been to, there's been so many people there, and including our own gig, which was, I don't know how many weeks ago, but we sold it out. And it was a great time. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same. I mean, sadly a lot of venues in the arts were and continue to be neglected, I think, at the moment, which is a real shame, because some amazing venues are closing down. Coco, which is one of my favorite venues in all of London, is now, I think, being turned into flats or something.
Yeah.
It's just culturally, it feels like it's just going to take it away. And like one of the greatest exports I think the UK has, other than a really bad racist colonial past, is that we're quite famous for music. And I think music is like quite a big thing that the UK has, and it kind of feels like it's going to be spoiled a little bit by that. But off the back of that, like Ollie said, every gig I've been to has been rammed, and it's almost like it's been like a big exhalation of everybody who's been crammed up over lockdown, and they couldn't go out, and they couldn't go to a live event as soon as they could. It just feels like nobody really wants to be in their houses anymore. They'll finish work and then just go somewhere. They go to a pub, they go to a venue, they go to a gig, they'll do a comedy night, they'll do something. And it just feels like everybody is currently, really basking in that and enjoying it. And I don't know if that's the way now or whether that'll be a short-term thing, but I think London is a bit of a cultural hub.
Absolutely. If I could just bounce off the back of that, it's so good for the arts. Yeah. I mean, you could go out and watch a reggae band play and walk 20 minutes down the road and then watch a metal band play, or, take the bus, go a few stops and go to a jazz gig, or watch contemporary classical. I mean, there's everything here. So that's really cool.
Next thing I'm going to ask you guys, for each of you individually, what is the biggest challenge each of you have encountered in the journey of music?
I think because music is such a devalued art because of its current distribution, trying to convince people that you are worth your money is a really tough one. I'd say a lot of musicians, we work very hard. We pay for very expensive equipment. We buy studio time that costs a lot of money to have our product go online and be distributed and listened to by people who pay $10 a month to have an unlimited amount of music at their disposal. So being valued as a musician and putting a good value on music, I think, is a bit of a struggle today.
A problem that I really had, and I think most musicians have it, is I go in sort of peaks and troughs of being interested in, particularly with bass. Bass is very difficult to just noodle on. It's not really a chordial instrument. It's quite difficult to have sort of harmony on it. And I often find that, it's quite difficult to practice. With piano, I could have practiced that all day, every day if I wanted to, because it's very interesting. So maybe the discipline thing of playing bass, I always challenge myself with that. I have so much more fun on stage live, but I really have to push myself to practice it, because it's much more difficult for me to practice along to anything with bass, because it's just a little bit, literally single note monotonous at times.
I think it's fairly in line with Jason's. It's kind of, I think throughout my entire life, I've had a very fortunate upbringing, and I was very blessed with being gifted at singing and creating and stuff. So I never, and it sounds really saying it, but I never had to work too hard to, especially to, like, even I got into my first choice conservatoire for university, and I didn't really have to do a lot. So it was really kind of realizing how much hard work you have to do, and putting a lot of work in, because a lot of people, and I think vast majority of people I know, don't properly realize how difficult it is to really at least make a living out of doing this. It's so much work. It's not just writing, and it's not just practicing. It's advertising. It's for understanding your audience. It's literally there is things that like none of us do, and our manager does, and he does it 24. He does it for so many hours in the day, and that is on one thing on top of the other on top of the other. Even just simple things like me training my vocals enough, which I should do a lot more. Even now, I admit I don't do it enough. It's just hard work, and it's, I suppose, in line with what Jason was saying. It's about motivation and really realizing this is actually what you really want. So get off your ass and do some work.
So a few questions before we go. What's next for the Great Leslie?
Stardom, world. We're just
oh boy,
releasing as much.
Ambition.
Yeah. We're just releasing as much music as we can. We've got 2 more singles coming out this year. The next one is coming out at I think a week before Halloween. I can't remember the exact date, but it's sometime in late October.
Like 20 something of October.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
Somewhere around that. And then we've got the last single of the year, which is called Anna, which is coming out at the end of November. Then we also have a lot of gigs coming up, and we're just writing loads. Hopefully next year we'll play loads more gigs, and we'll get on some big venues, and just keep working hard, keep plugging away, and do what we can.
Awesome. And where can people find you guys on social media?
They go to, where's Ryan?
Where's Ryan when you need him?
Where's Ryan when you need him? Exactly.
I think our label, our tag is always at the Great Leslie Band, and you can also go to our website, which will have all of our links to everything as well, which is thegreatlesllieband.com. And obviously on Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, all of the distributors, it's just The Great Leslie.
Thanks to the band The Great Leslie for sitting down with us and talking all about their music. If you want to see more interviews just like this, you can find us online at Studio 67 NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Naran Shaban. Remember to stay positive, and I'll see you next time.